Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of Voices from the Attic. I've been sitting on this episode for a long time, and I was just like, hey, let's do it. I've just finished all of The Crown, so I might as well go into the Diana conspiracy. So, it might be, I'm going to round it up basically. There's going to probably be so many edits because there's so much I need to get through in such a short amount of time. So sit back, relax. If you do like this channel, do consider subscribing below and commenting. And if you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, Anchor, wherever you are, please do consider rating this podcast and adding it to your list of listening podcasts. Right, let's begin. Okay, so Princess Diana. There was a lot of conspiracies around her death because, well, let's start at the beginning, shall we? Right, so originally, I only know this recently because I've watched all of The Crown and watched other documentaries on Netflix. There's another one called Diana in Her Own Words, is what I'll be using a lot of kind of evidence from and stuff like that because it's literally her doing interviews and everything. So we have Princess Diana. So let's paint a picture for everybody. We have Charles. So Charles needs a child. Charles needs a child because he is gonna be next in line to be king if our queen dies. Yes, he's next in line. Charles is next in line, so he would need a lovely suitor of a woman, girlfriend, queen material. So originally, Charles. Oh, okay, there's so much to say. Right. So, before Charles met Camilla, I think? No, before Charles met Diana, let's do this in a short manner. Right, so we have Charles. Charles meets Camilla. Charles falls in love with Camilla, but Camilla is also with this person called Parker Bowles. So, like, she goes between both fellas. So she's like, oh, I kind of love you. I kind of love you, though. So she goes between both Parker Bowles because Parker Bowles is also cheating on her. So everybody's just, except Charles at this point, is cheating. Everybody's just passing everybody around. And Parker Bowles is also at this time doing sexual stuff with Anne. Everybody's just in this and basically they've gone to a swingers party. Everyone's just doing that thing. So Camilla, Charles, they have a little thing. The reason that Charles is getting to know Camilla is because he's being pressured by the family to basically find a lovely suitor and, you know, expand the family, get ready for the good old crowning and stuff like that. So he, as they say, sows his seeds with Camilla, but then they're like, we don't really want that to be happening. The family around him, the royal family around him, don't really want him to be with Camilla. They decide it's not a good idea. They don't want Camilla. They want someone else. They want someone that they can control more and someone that they wanted him to just sow his seeds with Camilla and then kind of get rid of her. But he fell in love with Camilla. So here is one of the big issues. Falls in love with Camilla. They send him away on tour because they're like, oh, if we send him away on tour or send him away on a boat somewhere or serving overseas then he will forget about her. But his love over that time does grow for Camilla still. Camilla does have ties also to the royal family. Her grandmother's grandmother also cheated with one of the... Everybody is just connected greatly. So let's go forwards a bit. So in trying to get over Camilla, they basically say go out there and try to find somebody else and stuff like that, and they push them away from each other. So Camilla goes to Parker Bowles and kind of stays with him and then gets married, and then Charles kind of goes ahead and starts looking around and starts dating Diana's sister. So not dating Diana yet. He does meet Diana a few times and has a little bit of intrigueness between the two of them, but nothing comes of it. He dates the sister for a bit, and then that doesn't work out. But then he gets quite interested in Diana. So he's still in love with Camilla at this point. Through the whole thing, he's in love with Camilla. That's one of his true loves and everything. But he feels that for the family, it would be better to have a clean slate, and Diana is the perfect candidate to replace and be there as a placeholder in the royal family. So she enters into royalty. She's already in the aristocrat. I can't say any words right. She's already in the higher up. Basically, they're already in the same circles anyway, so it's fine. So she's working downtown somewhere. I believe she's working at a nursery, and Charles, they're going back and forwards, chitting, chatting, getting closer together and stuff like that. But at the back of his head, he still wants to kind of be with Camilla, but he still pushes through with Diana. And his family continuously persuade him and push him forwards to get married with Diana. And this led to a lot of tension between both of them. This led to also Diana developing a bulimia before their engagement and having a lot of issues with how she looks, because Charles is someone that always kind of is needing attention and always someone that continuously is craving that attention, craving that kind of gratitude from people around him. But when Diana comes into the spotlight, Diana kind of takes that away from him, because the way she holds herself, the way she is as a person, she's a very kind of, although she had a traumatic childhood, she kind of brings this kind of just sense of, although she's been hurt, she's trying to do better for herself and just trying to do better for people around her. So she kind of came across, and she's also absolutely stunning and beautiful in how she speaks. She was how she speaks, how she spoke, and just how she just came across. And also she was very, very young. I believe they married when she was 17, but he met her previously at a function when she was 14. So I think she was 17 and Charles was in his 30s, maybe. So they are both in this, they become entwined in this kind of relationship, marriage with one another, but there is complete cracks the whole time. They don't like get on very much, because I think Diana really does love Charles, but Charles still loves Camilla. And in doing so and becoming married to Charles, she also has to take on the fact that Camilla is still part of the picture. Camilla is still going hunting with Charles, still doing all the activities with Charles. He also has a place in the country where he goes to a lot in this relationship, and he hangs out with basically Camilla the whole time. So there's that. So that must put a strain on any relationship. Even the night before they get engaged, there was these bracelets that were made for him and Camilla. He got them personally made for the two of them. Diana finds these. She erupts in like tears, very upset, very angry. Obviously, why is he sending jewelry to other ladies on the night of his marriage engagement? Why is he doing that? Obviously, we know, but he's just doing it to keep up with the royal family, because they need a good, clean slate and they need to look prim, proper, and not show any cracks at all. So this continues, this progresses. So in this time of this relationship, even as soon as they're married, they did have some good spots, because obviously William was born and then Harry came along. Now, when William was born, they went and did a tour in Australia, and then they became a lot closer, Diana and Charles. But once again, whenever she went places, she had this presence about her, and he just really hated this kind of quirkiness about her, how she didn't like being all all very, very proper and not show any smiles and stuff. She was very, very different. She liked being out there. She liked being herself. She liked dancing. She liked roller skating around Buckingham Palace. Like, she enjoyed doing all these things, which is quite the opposite from Charles. And every time she did one of these things, it would just make him erupt and make him get angry, but he would never raise his tone. He would then just be on the phone to Camilla and it would just be an absolute mess because she was in a situation where she was now stuck. She was married to him because once two royals get married, it's very unlikely they're allowed to get divorced. If they do get divorced, it will cause is it eradicate? I think it's eradication, where basically they don't have the opportunity to then be the king. They lose the opportunity, like what happened previously with a relative to Charles and a lady called, last name called Simpson. They went off and he lost his he lost his opportunity to become king. I'm sorry there's so much stuttering in this. I'm just trying to remember and process all the information as I would in a podcast. Normally it's not as deep with the subjects. Well, it's deep, but like not this deep. There is a lot of kind of background information I want to throw in there, just so you know about the situation, and then you can kind of for yourself judge. So we're in this situation. Diana is still not really eating much, or she does have these bulimia, so she eats a load and then she would throw everything up, eat a load, throw everything up. She also did try to kill herself twice as well. She was in a situation where she was very much stuck. She was stuck in the royal family. She found at times they were very, very cold to her, and even Charles was no comfort to her because he was always on the phone with Camilla. And this led to Diana then trying to have different affairs because she was trying to obviously, if my husband's off with somebody else, why can't I do that? So she would then invite other people into where she was living and stuff, and then have relationships with them on the side. But whenever Charles found out about this, then he would punish her, or then he would try to strip her of more and more of her freedom. So as the years gone on, she had more and more of that taken away from her, to the point that for one of her travels, she ended up going on tour to America alone without Charles. Charles stayed at home with Camilla, but it was actually a huge success when she went to America and everyone loved her. And the minute she came back, she got a cold reception again. She got the whole situation where the royal family just didn't. She was right if she didn't speak. She was right if she didn't have an opinion. Like, she was the perfect placeholder if she didn't talk or be herself. I think that's how it came across. And because she had a bad upbringing as well, she was also lacking that kind of love that Charles was also lacking. But instead of coming together as a whole, there was just an eruption of tension, against silence, against going away, separation, back and forth, back and forth. So let's get to the conspiracies, what happened. So let's tell you about the death. So let me get up my notes. I wrote so many things down. Let's begin with, okay, so on the night of the 31st of August 1997, I would have been 5 years old. Something terrible happened. Princess Diana was killed in a fatal car crash in Paris, and the effects would be felt around the world. They were felt around the world. The funeral was, when it was broadcast, everyone was watching that. There was so many people tuned in to just seeing it, and everyone was very much mournful of Princess Diana because she was a great figure. Like, I remember we had all these we just had, because obviously I'm English, so we see the coronations, we see the marriages and stuff, we see everything like that on the TV, and we have, events and everything for that. When that did happen, I just remember the country just fell into a kind of sorrow because she was kind of a spark amongst the royal family. She kind of made us like the royal family more. I'm not saying that I don't like the royal family, but I just find them a little bit stiff and proper. And it was nice having, she was very, very different, and that's nice. It needed that kind of rejuvenation, and I feel that's what she was. So there was a fatal car crash that happened in Paris. For some people, what happened that night wasn't simply a tragic accident, though. Instead, it was a result of some kind of conspiracy. This is conspiracy. This is allegedly. It hasn't happened. it might have not happened at all. So they believe there was numerous reports, investigations, and experts that agreed with the official accounts of events, that Diana had been in a car driven by a man who was drunk, and the failing as well as the industrial ones allowed for the tragedy to happen. But others, so that's how it was ruled originally, that there was a drunk driver. Yeah, she was in a car driven by a man who was drunk, which is a bit strange anyway. Why, especially for a royal family member, would they not double check? Would they not double check who was driving these people from place to place and stuff? I highly doubt they would be drunk. It's a bit strange. Others still believe that something more secretive and intentional happened that night. The conspiracy theories take a number of forms. Right, so let me tell you some of the conspiracy theories. Some are more kind of ludicrous than others, but let's get through them. Some people believe that the royal family wanted to kill Diana. That's one of the first ones. So let me scroll down to here. So the reason they wanted to kill Diana was supposedly, when I mentioned the affairs back and forth between both of them, Camilla, Charles, and then Diana finding comfort in anyone she could basically, or someone that was close to her, there was the theory that Diana was actually pregnant. According to Mohammed Al-Fahid, that was right, that was the reason for killing. Diana had become pregnant with his son's child. He said, and that idea was unpalatable to the British state. They didn't want, and they couldn't accept that an Egyptian Muslim could eventually be the stepfather of the future King of England. And so they kind of found out she was pregnant and was like, no, this is going to make it look horrible for the monarchy, which is so ridiculous and so stupid if that was the case. And they're like, we're just going to kill her off. We're just going to kill her off and we're just going to kill the baby off. So there was discussion of a potential pregnancy that came up before Diana died. During a holiday in France a few weeks before, some newspapers speculated she might be pregnant, and the speculation was buoyed by mysterious comments Diana made. Oh, I forgot to say. So before this happened, Diana said she was going to make a big surprise to the world. She was going to say something and release a big statement to the world. So people thought, hey, maybe it's the pregnancy. But before she can even tell the world, she dies. They do say there was no sign of pregnancy during the post-mortem examination, but we don't know, those files aren't exactly public. And once again, those files would have to go through, the estates of her and who's governing that, and that would be the royal family. Now, the royal family would not want those examinations to get out into the public eye, otherwise it would be a travesty. Further tests on Diana's blood found there was no sign of pregnancy either, and there's no evidence even that Diana suspected she may be pregnant. Numerous close friends and others said that her menstrual cycle was normal, but she was using contraception, and that she hadn't mentioned even the possibility of being pregnant. So that one can be smacked on its face. There was another one. Second conspiracy. There's quite a few here, so hold your butts. Diana believed she was going to be killed by the establishment. The main motivating factor behind the conspiracies is the belief that Diana herself thought she was going to be killed. And that much, it appears, is true. Chief among them, in a letter that was disclosed by Paul Brell, Diana's one-time butler, said, I remember, he came forwards. I'm sitting here at my desk today in October, longing for someone to hug me and encourage me. Oh, okay, yeah. So the butler came forwards. That was it. The butler came forwards and said, this isn't right. There is something wrong about this. He came forward and was like, I know her. And there is something really strange going on. This just doesn't add up. And then there was a letter that was given to the butler, which was from Diana. So this letter said, I'm sitting here at my desk today in October, longing for someone to hug me and encourage me to keep strong and hold my head high. This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. Is planning an accident in my car, brake failure, and serious head injury in order to make the path clear for Charles to marry, it read. The letter appears eerily prescient, and indeed it had history. When Diana wrote the letter, she had experienced problems with her car, had voiced fears about them, and her bodyguard had died in an accident that she believed had been a conspiracy. Wait. So her bodyguard died as well before she died. Diana clearly had concerns about her safety. That much isn't a conspiracy theory, but there appears to be no official suggestion that she would actually be killed, even if there was animosity between her and the royal family. I don't know, that seems a little bit dodgy. So her bodyguard also died before her as well, mysteriously. Right. Well, that's strange. Third one, the paparazzi, I should say, made the car crash intentionally. Photographers were, I remember that, they were blamed repeatedly for a death. They were getting in the way. The story caught on in part because it reflected a concern that had pursued Diana throughout her life. The minute people found out that she was with Childs, she was being hounded by the paparazzi, and they were with cameras continuously outside her house and stuff like that. So this was a thing, and this is a very kind of believable one, that maybe they got in the way, their cars swerved in the way. It says here that the theory has three specific forms. A group of paparazzi chased and pushed the Mercedes so it could make the crash happen. The second argues that members of the paparazzi encourage an environment where a crash could happen. And the third suggests that the paparazzi accidentally created the situation, which sounds more likely. Right, so fourth one. The driver, Henry Poole, intentionally caused the crash. Henry Poole was the head of secretary at the Ritz Hotel in Paris, but conspiracy theorists believe that he was in the pay of at least one other organisation, and that organisation is a secret service of France or the UK or both. Ooh, spooky. People who doubt the official course of events say that its essential claim about Mr. Poole being drunk at the time of the crash was not only false, but was a lie spread in the media to cover up the killing, and that was done in parts of swabbing his body with another person, so that the toxicology report was completely wrong. Like, hey, just give me a member of the public that's drunk and we can swap it over and everything. The number of reasons people believe this. Mr. Poole did not seem to behave like he was drunk earlier in the night, for instance, and beliefs about him being in the pay of services that are very secret seem to be very expected, and some security officers have suggested they might have had a French source in the hotel, but I'm guessing all that evidence is gone now. Because I did write down, no evidence concluded from this, all evidence scrubbed. And numerous tests did show blood in alcohol, but once again, who knows? You know. And then we have here the last kind of conspiracy theory is Diana's medical care was deliberately sabotaged. Conspiracy theorists believe doctors allowed her to die on purpose, that they didn't treat her correctly. But then again, I believe, like, how did I think she was... One of her arteries was cut. One of the biggest arteries, pulmonary artery, I think. The biggest vein was cut in the accident, so it would have been very, very hard to treat. But it says here most of this revolves around her treatment. If she had instead been taken to the nearest hospital and treated there, she may have survived, they say. Part of the theory believes that the French approach to emergency care is simply different from the UK. In France, emergency crews focus on giving treatment at the scene before moving a person to hospital, whereas in the UK, we go straight to the hospital and then we stay in A&E for about 9 hours. So there is a difference. It's impossible to say whether or not there would have been more success if Diana was taken to hospital, but either way, it was almost impossible to survive from her injuries. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much it. So her bodyguard was killed off. So I did include this again. I did want to bring up the bodyguard being killed. So conspiracy theories around Diana circulated when she was alive. In 2004, US channel NBC aired videos showing Diana talking about an affair with Barry Menarche, a former bodyguard who she described as the greatest love I've ever had. Whoop. But it was found out that he was chucked out of rural protection and then killed. Conspiracy theories took up the claim and suggested there was a mysterious driver who had apparently helped orchestrate the car crash that Mr. Menarche died in. He'd been riding as a pillion passenger on a motorbike. the bike crashed into another car that was coming out of a junction, intentionally, according to some. So she had an affair with her bodyguard because, as I said, she was going around having affairs with a lot of people. Quite a few, because, she's kind of lonely in that palace and you can't speak to anyone. So she was like, just gonna go do that. So the fact that the bodyguard was killed off as well in a kind of car crash, very, very strange. And even to this day, I feel personally that she was pregnant. I feel like if she was pregnant, they already didn't like her anyway. So, like, if anything came between the monarchy, I feel that would be destroyed. Any threat that would make cracks start to show would be taken down immediately. That is my opinion on it. What do you think actually happened to Diana? Do you think it was just a freak accident that happened? Do you think the driver was drunk? Let me know in the comments, or let me know on Twitter at Voices from the Attic. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode. As I said, I've wanted to do this for a while. I literally had so many notes that I was trying to get through. I hope it's not as rambly as normal. Normally it's quite kind of condensed. Anyway, I'm chatting too much. Hope you enjoyed this podcast and live podcast if you're watching from YouTube. And yeah, until next time, Spooksters, I will see you then. Bye.